Located on over 50 acres in Holly, Michigan, the Devoted Barn is home to all types of animals that have unfortunately experienced horrific situations of abuse, neglect, and hoarding households. Welcome to Celebrate Michigan, the show produced on the campus of Medina University. I'm Chris Benson, and I want you to please welcome Melissa Borden, the founder of the Devoted Barn. She's here with us on the show today. Thank you so much for being here and telling us about this awesome place.
Thank you for having us.
So Melissa, how did you become acquainted with the Devoted Barn?
Well, I opened it.
Okay, so you're the proprietor
the founder.
Of the Devoted Barn.
Yeah. So we started our nonprofit over 11 years ago, and we started off just as home-based fosters and things like that. But I just knew that we needed to do something more, and we needed to have a farm. So I opened the farm.
And 50 acres. This is a large facility.
It's very large, yes.
And how did you come to find it? Did you just have it already?
No. And actually this is our second location.
Okay.
So it's actually a very long story to get the first location, but we had one property that was 55 acres down in Monroe County. We had that property for over 6 years, but we outgrew it. Hard to say we outgrew it with 55 acres, but we outgrew the buildings, and we weren't able to build any more. So we started looking. We've been there 2.5 years. So about 3 years ago, we started looking for another property, and we found this one just fit our needs perfectly. So we bought this one.
And how did you come to be concerned about the welfare of animals? Is this a lifelong
passion? It is, yes.
Passion?
It started when I was a kid.
Oh.
A little girl. I kind of grew up in the typical household of hunting and fishing, which was traumatizing to me as a kid that really loved animals.
Here in Michigan?
It did, yeah.
Okay.
I grew up on the west side of the state.
Okay.
So I just knew I always needed to help animals. So I started rescuing little by little, like in high school and right out of high school. And it's just something I've always done. I didn't do it full time, obviously, until we opened the farm.
And how did that go from just a passion to we need a farm, and I'm going to do the work? I mean, because that's a big leap from I think I'm going to take care of a few animals to this is my life's work.
Yes, it was, again, it was kind of a process to go through, but I just really felt that I needed to, and the farm isn't necessarily about the animals, it's more so a place I was doing a lot of community service in Detroit, a lot of community outreach, and we were in the homes, and you just really could feel that the problem in having so many animals with extreme cruelty and neglect is just the lack of compassion and empathy.
Sure.
And kids today are not learning it at home. They're not learning it in school. They don't really have a real value of life. So I just really felt that I needed to have a place to give these animals a platform to teach compassion and empathy.
Sure.
I was doing a lot of school speaking. Whenever I brought an animal with me, it just got through to the kids a lot more. So animals just have more power to teach than we do. So by opening a farm and having a place where these animals that have been subjected to these horrific things could have kids from the inner city come in and work with them one-on-one, and they would teach compassion and empathy. So to me, it was more of like problem solving to fix the problem of why we have dogs that are getting shot and stabbed and sexually assaulted, and it's more of problem solving.
Well, and I can, I don't know if our audience members can hear, but I can hear our little guys that can't wait to get out here, and it's obvious they have formed a bond with you.
Very
much. So I know we're going to bring some adorable dogs on in the third segment, but what other animals do you have at the Devoted Barn?
Gosh. We have a little bit of everything. So we do the extreme cruelty and neglect. We have a large feral dog program, the largest in the country.
Wow.
We also have a lot of special needs animals, which is what we brought today. But we do major medical. So dogs that, we have a dog that was hit by a car. She's completely incontinent, so living at home just isn't an option for her in a home. We've had over the years, and it's always hard to talk, and I always get the reaction from people that aren't used to hearing things, but we've had 11 dogs that were sexually assaulted.
Yes. Yeah, it occurs.
And one of them couldn't control her bowel or bladder anymore because of the damage. So we had her. She's since passed away. But we have a cow that's got a prosthetic leg. He lost his leg. We have special needs, and then we have those that are completely feral. We have some cows that were, escaped a slaughter truck that are completely feral. We have horses. We get a lot of our horses out of the kill pens. We have sheep and goats and llamas and alpacas. We have potbelly pigs, and we have the big farm pigs. So we have a lot of different things.
And will you explain, it might be a known term for you, but some people might wonder, what is a feral animal? Can you explain exactly what that is?
Feral is completely wild. So an animal that hasn't had any experience with humans or any interactions or positive interactions. So they're completely wild. Yeah. Terrified of people.
So in an urban setting, they might have been living on the streets, making their homes, behind buildings or under a tree or something like that. And I'm sure it's in a rural setting as well, where they've been roaming across fields, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. We get a lot of them from cities like Detroit, where you have feral packs of dogs that are living in abandoned buildings. We also have a lot of dogs that came out of the meat trade in Thailand. So we have those dogs that were tortured alive in the torture camps. So it just makes them very fearful of people.
So they've experienced, the things these animals have experienced, of course they can't tell us, but you can tell from either the symptoms that they're, showing,
their
or
body
the
language, their communication, or or if we have the stories
that are passed down. What an incredible institution, and it sounds like the need has grown, unfortunately, over the years.
It has. Unfortunately, it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and we still turn away. Gosh, we probably turn away well over 50 animals a week. So the need is there. Unfortunately, these animals end up in animal controls, and they just don't have options for them. When people go to adopt a dog out of animal control, they want that friendly, social dog, not the dog that's absolutely terrified of people, that's untouchable. So those are the dogs we pull. Those are the ones we help.
And someone's got to love them. And the good news is that the love is coming from you and the people that work with you.
Absolutely. And we have a really good success rate of getting them rehabilitated to where they're not fearful of people, and we can get them into adoptive homes.
Well, unfortunately, we've come up to a break, but stay tuned. I know you're going to want to hear more from Melissa. And remember, you're going to get to meet two of her friends that she brought today. So we'll see you right after this break.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, "Read your lease. No pets allowed." My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
Sure, I look cute now, but when my owner lost his job, it was rough. I was living on the street, and one night, me and this Cocker Spaniel got into it so bad, I wound up looking like an ice cream cone. I cried a little bit, but thankfully I got rescued, so I'm running, I'm jumping, all back to my old self, and I'm ready to give unconditional love, even if you put a lampshade on my head.
They call me Prince like I'm royalty or something. But the places I've lived ain't no palaces. So I don't need grilled salmon or a new scratching post. Just give me a cardboard box and a can of tuna and we're good. You can even change my name. I'm cool being the kitty formerly known as Prince.
In 1977, an 8-year-old boy picked up the game of golf from his father. The odds of that same boy then making it to the US and European pro golf tours, 1 in 7 million. The odds of the Big Easy winning the US Open twice, 1 in 1.2 billion. The odds of him having a child diagnosed with autism, 1 in 110. Ernie Els encourages you to learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Welcome back to Celebrate Michigan. I'm Chris Benson, and I'm here again with Melissa Borden from the Devoted Barn. She's the founder of this institution that is located in Holly, Michigan. And I was just trying to wrap my head around the scope of this problem or the scope of this issue. You know, again, we're talking about animals who've been abused, animals who don't have a home, animals that have been feral for a number of, months, weeks, could be years, their whole life. When you think about the scope of this problem, how do you feel about that? Like, what emotions run through you as you go through that every day? I mean, you're seeing this every day.
Right. It's definitely it can be overwhelming when you sit back and think about the big picture and how can we make a difference. And you have to just focus on your part and your part of each animal. You know, she's now 10. My 10-year-old daughter, my youngest daughter, said one time we were on our way back from Arkansas, and we had gone down to help a southern shelter down there with a couple pregnant moms that had puppies, and one of the puppies was not doing very well. It was fading on us pretty quick, and she was, I think, 4 at the time, and she just said out of nowhere, she goes, "Well, we just love them while we have them," as she was holding this dying puppy. And my girlfriend and I, she was driving, and we just kind of looked at each other like, does she even realize like how profound that is? But it really is what we have to focus on, you know,
yes.
Whether we have them, you know, we've just recently taken in 2 big draft horses that were Amish plow horses that they came out of the kill pen. They have, unfortunately, a disease in their leg that's probably not going to allow us to have them very long. And you just look at them and you just think, you know, we can only do our part. We have to focus on what we can do to make their lives better while we have them. Or, you know, if our goal for most everything is to get them into adoptive homes. So even, you know, that we just focus on our part of the journey until they get into their adoptive homes, and we just love them while we have them. And that helps keeping you focused, I guess. Otherwise, 'cause
Sure.
it can be very, very overwhelming otherwise.
Oh,
For sure.
And you've got a very challenging situation you've chosen to devote your life to addressing, and
Yes.
then something like COVID comes along.
Yes.
So talk to me about what was that experience like for you when it began, and obviously we're wearing masks.
We're still doing it,
in it.
Right. COVID was very challenging for us in many ways. So we had just opened this property. So with this new property came additional expenses, a little bit more overhead, but also in a new area, so we needed more volunteers. So with COVID, that definitely put a damper on having new volunteers in. We had a very big special needs program at our old barn. We were just getting ready to launch that at this farm right when COVID hit, so we couldn't do that. And then obviously donations just dropped, as in every nonprofit during COVID, donations fell. So it hit us in a lot of different ways. And then I myself got COVID and have had to deal with the long-term effects of that,
Yes.
Which have been challenging because everything we do at the farm is very physical, obviously taking care of the animals. So it definitely has been challenging, for sure.
Were you concerned, and this may be it might seem like a silly question to some, but were you concerned about the animals getting COVID and then having to work with them through this as well?
No, I was not actually, because I knew from the science that we weren't really at risk with that. But again, having enough people that didn't get COVID or volunteers not getting sick, to be there to take care of the animals was definitely a concern.
Talk about volunteers. So you mentioned and your website is wonderful. If people haven't been there, tell me your website again.
It's thedevotedbarn.org.
And you had a lot of information there, and I know, again, during the severe part of COVID where we were still trying to learn things and figure out everything, and not that we have yet, you probably weren't able to have as many volunteers, but hopefully we're getting to a point where things are turning a corner.
I hope so.
What can people do now who want to help this organization?
Yeah, so volunteers is a huge thing for us. We don't have paid employees, it's all volunteer run. And we have a lot of animals. We have 150 animals at the farm to take care of every day. But not just taking care of them as far as feeding, watering, and cleaning up after them, but they need that interaction with people. And I always tell people when you're dealing with fearful animals or feral animals, they get to be great with us that they see every day, but that only makes them adoptable to a small number of people. So for them to be adoptable, we need them good with a lot of people. So having a lot of different people interact with our animals, even just to come in and brush a horse or take a dog for a walk, even if you don't have a lot of time, it's very, very beneficial for the animals.
I just heard a snort from one of our
she's
guests.
waiting impatiently.
Our guest from the third segment, we had a snort. So
Yep.
if anybody heard that, know that coming soon. And when you think of the stories of these animals, do any stories like stick out? I know there's so many that you work with, but any that you just think like, this is an incredible story to share.
Definitely. The one that always comes to mind for me, and a lot of people I'm sure that watch your show will already know the story, and that was of a pig named Sunshine. And she was living in a basement in Detroit. Now, she was about 600 pounds. She was a full-size farm pig, so she's the pig that you eat if you eat pork.
Sure.
She was living in a basement. She had been down there for 4 years, living in a couple feet of her own feces. When we got called to come get her, it took us 5 hours to get her out of the basement. I named her Sunshine because she was so fearful to come out of that basement because that's all she had known. She didn't know. I mean, it wasn't a good life, but that was the only life she knew. And that was her home. And so to come out and even just see the sunshine, 'cause she had no windows. So we had hundreds of police officers there, and it was just a crazy scene for 5 hours. And at one point she was overheating. She was really, really stressed. I had sent the officers to get some Little Debbie treats, actually, some marshmallow, just some sugar to get her blood sugar back up. And I had gone down there, and I'm like, just come up and see the sunshine. Like, just come out and breathe the air.
And she did.
And she did. It wasn't easy, but we finally got her up. And that was about 6 years ago. So if you guys Google 500-pound pig in Detroit, you'll see the whole thing.
Sunshine.
But she ended up, we just lost her about a year ago to cancer. But she ended up living this amazing life and was just so happy. And I'll never forget the night we brought her home. We got her in a stall, and first time in 4 years she'd been on something dry, like just dry straw, and she had had a fresh drink of water. And she came over to me. Now, she was terrified of people, but she walked over and she gave me a kiss on the nose, right on the lips, just kissed me and went and laid down. And she was amazing, absolutely amazing.
After this, I hate to even say this, but we got to take a break. We'll be back with Melissa with more amazing stories. We'll see you after this.
This top. It's so gay.
Really?
Yeah, it's totally gay.
You really shouldn't say that.
Say what?
Well, say that something's gay when you mean it's bad. It's insulting. What if every time something was bad, everybody said, "Oh, that's so girl wearing a skirt as a top"?
Oh, you are.
Those are cute jeans, though. When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off.
Nice. Yes, go! Yes! No! Come on! Oops. Yeah, sure. Let's go.
Moms everywhere are finding ways to keep kids active and healthy.
Works every time.
Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov.
To you, Algebra 2, Foreign Languages, and finally, Biology. Who among you will step up to their challenge.
Me.
Take on the tough classes now. You need them to prepare for college.
Welcome back to Celebrate Michigan. I'm Chris Benson. You cannot see the huge smile behind my mask right now, but I'm here today with Melissa Borden from the Devoted Barn in Holly, Michigan, and she has brought some friends with her that I cannot wait to introduce you to. So please, Melissa, who are we working with here today?
So we have 2 of our special needs puppies. So one thing that we take in a lot of are cleft palate puppies.
Okay.
We work with an organization called the Mia Foundation, and they give resources to anybody that has a litter of puppies that ends up with a cleft palate. So these guys both came through there. This is Monkey. So when you have one birth defect, you always have more. So Monkey came to us at a day old. She was born with a cleft palate and cleft lip. She also
give me 5.
she will, right? That boxer, she's going to use her paws. She also has hydrocephalus, which means she has more fluid than brain. She has megaesophagus, so her esophagus doesn't work. She has to eat in a high chair, essentially. It's called a Bailey chair, but she has to eat sitting up, so she can't have food or water off the ground.
Wow.
She actually can't have any water. And she's a little visually challenged, and Doodle over here is challenged because she's eating her leash. Come over here. So Doodle. So Monkey actually just turned 2 last week. I actually am going to pass her off, so I cannot show you guys Doodle. Okay. So Doodle was also born with a cleft lip and a cleft palate. Come here. And then she was born with all 4 of her legs are a little bit deformed, so she has to have surgery on all 4. What? You're just gonna look at me? So all I know.
Oh
what?
my God.
I know. You're
look
fine.
At this.
So you can see on her nose how kind of, even though she's had 4 surgeries, it's a little bit deformed still.
Yeah.
So these are 2 examples of what we do.
Yeah.
It's hard to bring fearful or feral animals into a studio, so we bring our special needs ones because they're very social, obviously. Just a little bit challenged in other ways.
So what are, when you say that they're special needs and that there's a lot of care that goes into them, what does that look like?
So for these guys, because of the cleft palate, they can't nurse off mom. They also can't drink out of a bottle. So they have to be tube fed. So for Monkey, for example, we actually had a port in her neck.
Okay.
Because of her megaesophagus, we could only give her a little bit of food or formula at a time. So she had to be fed every 2 hours for 8 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
So that means for 8 weeks, I didn't sleep more than like an hour at a time.
Well, I was going to say, so it's financial, but it's also time because you've got to have someone watching.
Yes. So we had a whole team of people. I was the only one that fed her, but we had a whole team of people that would come and help me take care of them.
Wow.
So, and then they came they're 3 months apart. So as soon as we got Monkey off of the tube and eating, then we got this one. Who's just naughty.
She's just like,
naughty.
She's been on TV before, and she's like, look, I know what I'm doing here.
She's like, get me off this leash.
I know
Doodle.
that people in our audience are watching and just saying, I have got, what can I do to help dogs and animals like Doodle and Monkey over there?
Yeah.
So what is it that we can do to help the
So
Devoted
the
Barn?
biggest thing, obviously, is always resources. So we always need money for food, vet care. Obviously, there's a lot of vet care that goes involved. She's had 4 surgeries already. She's had 3 just on their cleft palate. She's already had 1 leg surgery. And we have many dogs like this. Hey, no. We always need people. So we always need people at the farm volunteering, but we always need foster homes as well. That's another huge thing.
Sure.
But then things like just around your household, like we always need blankets and sheets and towels and things like that.
Oh, you are going to be friends with me, I see. So I know you need special people to do foster. So if let me ask this, if you've got people watching who are like, I've wanted to foster, but I've never done it before.
Yeah.
Can I get involved? How do I learn?
Absolutely. So you can get everything right off our website. And we have fosters for cats, dogs, kittens, and we have our whole neonate team for people that want to take on the neonate special needs as well.
Even like small baby puppies. Oh
Yep,
my
absolutely.
goodness. Or kittens. I know you've
Yes.
got cats too.
We do, and we have 2 bottle baby kittens right now. So,
And what would that involve?
so those are the same thing where you're up every couple hours. So it does
Okay.
take a lot of commitment
Sure.
for the special needs for the neonates. But just to have a dog in your home, it's a great way if you don't have a pet to have a pet with no expenses because we pay for everything. So.
And if I wanted to come and help at the Devoted Barn, is there a training? Like, let's say I don't know
Absolutely.
what I'm doing, but I know that I want to help. How
Yeah,
can
so
they,
all
how
of
can
our
someone get involved?
volunteers first go through orientation where you get kind of the layout of all of the property. So you then can decide, do you want to work with our pigs, our sheep and goats, the dogs, horses? There's so many different things. So once you decide where you want, then we partner you with some of our experienced volunteers there. So
And tell us
lots of training.
Well, that's good because again, they've already been through so much. I imagine that you want to make sure
Yes.
that people are doing exactly what you need for them. You don't want to traumatize
Absolutely.
them any further.
Absolutely.
And tell me again your website so I can
It
make
is
sure we get it.
thedevotedbarn.org.
And what would you say to anyone who's watching right now who knows of a situation where an animal is being abused or going through trauma in a current experience?
Yep. Always
What do you
call
say?
your local authorities. So always call animal control, your local animal control.
Okay.
Yep,
So
those
call-
are the only ones that really can make a difference. They're the ones that have the legal rights to go in there and do
take care of
something.
it.
Yeah.
Melissa, thank you so much for the
Yeah.
work that you are doing, and to all of the volunteers. It's a total volunteer organization at the Devoted Barn. And thank you for bringing these little ones who are so cute to us, and you're really letting people know what's going on out there. Thank you so much. And thank you to you, our viewers, for joining us today and helping us learn about all the things that are going on in Michigan. Sometimes there are things that we don't want to hear about, but we need to. So we appreciate your viewership as well. And we will see you next time on Celebrate Michigan. And please check out the Devoted Barn.